American Giant makes great clothing, sweatshirts, jeans, and more right here in the U.S. Visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com, code STAPLE20.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is FunBelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the FunBelt podcast.
This is the FunBelt podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howl Razor, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. It is potentially not a good week for the Sunbelt, Shane Metlin. And we get to experience it firsthand. Happy portal season, everybody.
Oh, God.
Gotta love it when basically all the portals are open at once, it seems like.
Yeah, we're all getting sucked into an alternate dimension.
It sounds like some sort of sci-fi conundrum, but...
Jeremy, is there such a thing as the bowling portal?
Yeah. You know, actually, you can get portaled off your bowling team. We've seen a little bit of that. You know, it's not as prevalent. Doesn't get a whole lot of attention. You know, there's not websites really dedicated to the bowling portal. But yeah, sure, you can get portaled off your bowling team.
So before we bring in our guests, and I definitely want to get his feedback on it.
Okay.
The best portal drama is unfolding in the college football landscape. Nico, I'm going to leave Tennessee.
Yeah.
He's renegotiating mid-contract. Is this setting the dangerous precedent that if I don't get my money, screw you guys, I'm out of here?
You know, I see this unfolding at Tennessee, and there's all this sort of, I don't know, rigmarole and gnashing of teeth and this sort of, oh, woe is Tennessee. Oh, Tennessee got rid of them. They're so brave. You know, this shit's been going on, Tibbs, with Group of Five programs for a long time now. It's a way of life for us. And nobody gives a shit when it happens to us. It's like, he wanted a little bit more money, so he's taking off to greener pastures. It happens to Tennessee. It's suddenly a national emergency. And I was pissed off about it, Tibbs. I was really angry about it. And then I thought, you know what? If it takes something like this happening to Tennessee, where people finally start to notice just how dipshit wrong this entire system we've cooked up is, maybe something happens. Maybe we get some sort of change in this landscape. Maybe somebody finally says, okay, this is out of control. We have ruined college sports. Maybe we can pull ourselves out of this quicksand. Shane Metlin, agree with me on this.
I'm not optimistic it's going to happen anytime soon. It's you know, the people in charge at the NCAA, which is college presidents, really want Congress to step in and give them antitrust exemption.
Ooh, all right.
Which I don't think is going to happen. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll be surprised, but I don't think it's going to happen. The other choice is to get a group of representatives of athletes together and negotiate with them and come up with what a standard contract for a college athlete is supposed to look like and move on from there. But it doesn't exist right now. And so unless they're willing to sit down at the table and collectively bargain, we're just going to have this kind of stuff happen over and over again.
I think the thing that also added to Nico's unhappiness in Tennessee, he didn't get the McDonald's bag full of cash. I think that was the difference maker.
You know what? Here's the sad thing, is that kids these days, they don't get the magic of receiving that bag of cash. That under the table, coach kicks it under there. There you go. You drop something, kid. They don't get to have that magic anymore. The $100 handshakes in the locker room, it doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen. It's all legal out in the open. Where's the fun in that?
Yeah. No college quarterback's ever going to walk out to his car and find an envelope under the under the windshield wipers again. It's sad.
Or find that his Pinto has been replaced with a brand new Trans Am.
Speaking of quarterbacks walking out to cars and finding things miraculously, we have Coastal Carolina's own Zach Capps joining us. He has the inside scoop and knows everything there is to know about the portal.
Damn.
Zach, welcome in to the FunBelt podcast.
Yeah, thanks, man. So my second podcast of the year. I've been joining Sunbelt Syndicate doing his podcast, so excited to change it up a little bit and do this one.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a rivalry, and Dominic brought it on himself that they can't have the Twitter name of Syndicate.
Syndicate,
yeah, it's Syndicate, and we call him that all the time. So, Zach, tell us about how you kind of got into the Twitter sphere, just for Jeremy, because we can't say the X sphere.
No, don't say that.
Of really digging into the portal and staying on top of that action.
Yeah, so I told you guys a little bit before the show, but I grew up in Indiana, kind of just loved college basketball. When I moved down here to Coastal, wanted to get more into it, and I would often go on Twitter, look for like Coastal basketball stuff, and it was pretty much nothing. It was literally just maybe like one or two local reporters at every few games, and maybe in like the team page or whatever. So I was like, what can I do to maybe help get more people to watch this? Not just like my friends, but other people, not just in Coastal community, but in the Sunbelt community and nationally as well. So created an account just to talk about Sunbelt hoops basically, and was kind of off and on for a year or two. And then the last 2 years, kind of just been on top of things, messaging players. Some coaches have messaged me throughout the time. And just kind of just keep notifications on, make sure my feed's right, and just try to stay on top of everything as I can.
So is it limited just to your expertise there in basketball? Or are you going to branch out to football to be able to cover things like Gio Lopez going into the portal for South Alabama?
I mean, for now it's basketball, maybe in the future. So I'm a junior. I graduate in December from Coastal. So I don't know what it's going to look like after that. So maybe eventually I get into football, but for now it's just basketball.
Zach, I've counted about 80 guys that have portaled from the Sun Belt. Does that align with your numbers?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I remember, so the last show I did, it was like 73 scholarship players.
Yeah.
And then there's a few walk-ons here and there, like maybe like 3 or 4. And then I know like probably like close to 10 have joined the portal since then. So yeah, probably like 80 to 85, I would say.
Now, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Maybe it's just last week, Shane, where there are some guys jumping in the portal that don't appear to have eligibility. Is there any way you can help us out with that?
Yeah, so I was wondering the same thing. I know Shane, see him do some JMU stuff, and like Mark Freeman's a prime example of that. Like, I generally don't know how he has any eligibility left. I know a guy from South Alabama today, Cantia Ramming, entered the portal, and it seems like I think he was 3 or 4 years at a NCAA Division II school, and then 1 year at South Alabama. But with the new ruling, it was only like JUCO and NIA transfers get that extra year. So that was maybe they're just holding out hope that somehow, some way, the NCAA loses another battle and they get a waiver. But I've been wondering the same thing, seeing a couple of these guys in the Sun Belt especially enter the portal with no eligibility left.
And the big picture, obviously the big goal that Keith Gill wants is to bid for the Sun Belt Conference in the men's NCAA tournament. Does all this portaling around, you think, help? Or is it going to keep it to where we're one big lead forever and ever? Amen.
I don't think it. I mean, I would say I would lean towards it hurts, just because in today's day and age, continuity means a lot, and that's how you get better. You're not going to get better by just adding a bunch of guys and saying go out there and play. Like, so I mean, if you compare it to last year, I know we had the Sun Belt as a conference as a whole had a pretty down year in basketball, at least compared to the last 2 or 3 years. So maybe some of these guys leaving and some new talent coming in, maybe that helps the conference get better. But in the long term, I think that this number of guys entering the portal could hurt.
Yeah. Was there anybody that entered here? I mean, I think, when guys average 10, 15 points a game and they're young, you kind of expect them to look elsewhere to some bigger opportunities. But was there anybody who jumped in the portal that really surprised you or that hasn't jumped in yet that has been kind of a shock to you?
I mean, I know it's kind of a little homer pick a little bit, but here at Coastal, Justin Gray built like a culture in Western Carolina where maybe 1 or 2 of his top guys left to jump to that Power 5 and 1 or 2 of his bottom guys left to go to a lower level. So seeing their whole starting 5 plus their 6-man enter the portal was really shocking to me. I know they obviously had a down year, and I know Rasheed Jones announced he's coming back, but that was a little shocking. And then Georgia Southern had a couple guys. I think Tyson Brown was shocking to me. And so was Aaron Banks. Those are 2 guys that I thought could have been big pieces for them next year, and they lost a ton of guys. So those are 2 guys. And then there was one more that really shocked me. Oh, I guess Robert Davis. He didn't enter, but that was one that really shocked me. Averaged nearly 17 a game, I think. I know it was on pretty poor efficiency, but that was a guy that I thought maybe because his volume was so high, maybe a Power 5 school would take a flyer on him just because, he did average 17.
What about
do you think NIL's?
Go ahead.
Do you think NIL's playing that big of a deal or that big of a part of the transfers? I know Jerry Nagopo that left ULM, landed at Coastal. He's getting a decent paycheck there. I mean, is that really what it's going to take to be able to build the roster, even if it is year after year after year?
I think so. We see these kids like Coleman Hawkins. Coleman Hawkins got $2 million last year in the portal. I mean, I know he's not on the level of these guys, but you see a college basketball player getting $2 million and their ears perk up. Imagine how much money they could get. I know none of these guys are expecting $2 million, but AJ DeBanza, freshman going to BYU, rumored to get $5, $6, $7 million. So they're trying to take any opportunity they can get, and I mean, in a way, you can't blame them because pretty much all these guys aren't going to make a ton of money after college when it comes to basketball. So that you just got to take everything you can get with these rules until something changes.
Zach, who do you think got hit hardest so far in the portal right now, and who do you think has weathered the storm best?
I would say Georgia Southern definitely got hit the hardest. I think they have 1 guy returning, and we still have a few more days before the portal closes. So, that was one. I was super high on them coming into the year. They had a down year, and I don't know what happened, but they've lost I think 12 to 13 guys in the portal so far. So that they definitely got hit the hardest. And in terms of weathering the storm, Marshall's losing 1 guy.
Yeah.
And it's a guy that redshirted this year and wasn't probably in their future at all. I know Troy lost a lot of lost their starting 5, I'm pretty sure, basically, or 4 of their starting 5. But I mean, when you go to the NCAA tournament and those guys play well, you expect them to leave. So they've kept a lot of their core together. And then I think, I'm going to say it again, but Coastal, they lost 6 guys. Rasheed Jones comes back. I know that they're interested in possibly bringing back a few more of those guys. So if they can bring back a few more, I would say they're right up there, especially with the portal additions they've added as well.
How do you think Marshall has maintained or retained all their guys? Is it something kind of like what happened with Troy last year, where those guys just sort of believe in the program and want one more crack at it, or is there something else at play?
Yeah, I think it starts with their coach, Corny Jackson. He's built a good relationship recruiting these guys out of high school through the portal and recruiting them to stay out of the portal. So he's done a really good job building these personal relationships, getting these guys to buy in, and probably has a good little check that he's writing to them too. So, I mean, those are the ways that you're going to keep a team.
So off topic. The only way I ever see a Coastal Carolina basketball game, because I live in Arkansas, Coastal Carolina, Myrtle Beach is a long way. The only time I see is on ESPN3, and you got that crazy space camera. Why?
Yeah, the place where the camera is all the way like basically in the ceiling. Like you have to like climb this like little single ladder to get all the way up there, and you're basically like heads touching the ceiling. I have no idea why they built that. I mean, for a pretty new stadium too, it's pretty small for a pretty new stadium. I know that there's been talks they want to build a new one by probably like the end of this decade. It's going to be like, I don't know how much bigger, but I would assume probably like double the size. So I know it's like only like 3,000, so 6,000 still isn't much, but it's a lot better than what they have right now. But yeah, I have no idea why they built it's like a little like walk the plank up there. It's like a little metal shelf up there that they're standing on.
Yeah, I always call it the Hubble cam. Like it's on the Hubble telescope, and they've pointed it down onto the Coastal Carolina basketball game. Do the fans like that angle? Are they like, yeah, this is the signature Coastal Carolina angle?
I mean, I haven't heard anything about it. I don't watch. Yeah, I mean, we probably don't have many fans watching the games at home anyway. I'm pretty sure if you're probably a fan, you're probably going to the games in the first place, and there's not many of those. So, yeah, I haven't heard much, and obviously I don't watch many home games, so it's not something that I've really noticed.
Zach, can't thank you enough for stopping by to fill us in on the basketball portal. Tell people where they can check it out and get some insight there on Sunbelt Basketball Portal with you.
Yeah, so I'm on X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter, but I know some people call it X. At Sunbelt Report. I'm also on Instagram at Sunbelt Report, even though I don't really post on there. That's mainly just for communication purposes. I might start using that when the season starts, but mainly just on X. And then me and I know TJ O'Sullivan and Sunbelt Syndicate and one other guy are working on something big for the future. So just keep an eye posted to all three of our socials, and we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Awesome. Looking forward to it, and come back sometime later and fill us in on the latest.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me.
All the talk there about basketball, but it's also football portal season opening, Jeremy, on Wednesday, April the 16th.
Okay, it's not tomorrow, it's Wednesday.
No, you get that last day to file your taxes, claim all your student athletes as a dependent before they're hitting the road and leaving the nest.
We should claim all of our favorite players as dependents. That would be a great idea. I'll let my tax accountant know that that's what I intend to do.
And that's the last time we saw Jeremy as he's headed to federal prison there. Hey, that gives us a whole nother angle for the show though, Jeremy.
Sure. I could probably record live from the prison, give you some updates about some of my relationships that I forged in the prison. Yeah.
Or had forged on you.
There could be a little extra edge to the podcast. Shane, have you done your taxes?
They're being done.
Okay. You got a guy. All right.
Yeah.
Tibbs, you got a guy?
Nope. I am the guy. I already got my refund and it's already back out the door.
Jesus. Wow. When did you do this?
I don't know. I live in the great state of Texas, and so the state wanted more money for me to claim my homestead.
All right. Yeah. I did my son's taxes on the old TurboTax, which was free because, they don't have any assets whatsoever. My youngest son gets back $1 from the state. So the state of Arkansas will be cutting a check to my son in the amount of $1, and it will be coming into through the mail.
Is he going to frame it like the first dollar he earned?
Well, I mean, he works. He works as a valet, and most of that's through tips. But it's like he didn't really earn enough to really get any money out of it. So I thought that was kind of funny that the state's going to have to go through that trouble of cutting that check.
Yeah, they're probably losing money on the printing the check, mailing it.
It's like we've performed some act of rebellion.
What is sticking to the man?
Of Arkansas, which they deserve it. Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about the transfer portal, Tibbs. Why did you get us off on the stand?
It is like a tax.
It is. That is a good way to look at that. Yeah.
I am very sad, but not really, that Gio Lopez is leaving South Alabama because maybe they destroy our hearts. I'm done with them.
Yeah.
I cannot take another Jaguar defeat. So good riddance, Gio. Leave the nest. Go out on your own. File your own damn taxes.
Yeah, and the guy who covers South Alabama, is it David Conkle? Is it David Conkle?
Yeah.
He says that's just the beginning.
And Craig Stevens.
Yeah, Craig Stevens that kind of covers all those guys in South Alabama and Troy, and he'll do a little Auburn too. But yeah, Conkle was saying this is kind of the beginning, and I guess it's kind of how it's going to be for all teams, right? Once the portal opens, it's just going to be a big old cannonball. And we'll get to see all those guys who are rumored to be leaving. Are they going to leave? Yeah. In fact, Arkansas State, they lost Macklin Thomas, or it was announced today, their starting offensive tackle. So, I mean, everybody's going to get hurt. So it's going to be rough.
And meanwhile, Shane is over there just smitten, going, yes, peasants. You lose everybody, and the rich will keep getting richer.
Is this true? Shane, are the rich getting richer there at JMU?
I don't know. We'll see on Wednesday, right?
Yeah. That's supposedly.
We'll see. I don't know. I got kind of like chastised a little bit at the spring game for asking a question of Bob Chesney, and I framed it. It was the day of all the drama at Tennessee, and I framed it as like, you haven't really had a whole lot of drama here. And he was like, don't say that. Like, don't do that to me right now. So I think he was a little bit feeling like I might have just jinxed things for them. But I just meant people had been showing up for practice and not holding out suddenly. Not that nobody's going to enter the portal, which, some guys will be in, some guys will be out. So we'll see.
You got to think as a coach, this wrinkle that's happened recently in college football is just very aggravating to them, right? Just not having the consistency. You build a team and you craft it, and suddenly it just kind of falls apart because you don't have the NIL money. It's just kind of crazy how that works out for coaches. I'm not surprised we're seeing coaches sort of leaving for other jobs based on this. It's just not really why you got into coaching kids. You didn't coach kids so you can also be their financial managers.
Are they leaving, or are they portaling also, Jeremy?
What, the coaches?
Yes.
There's a little bit of portaling, I guess. Yeah. But yeah. So I guess, is it kind of this atmosphere where if you're a fan, you're just sitting there worrying? Is that why I'm in a bad mood? Because I just feel the force coming.
Quite possibly.
Could be it. Yeah. Huh. Shane, you went to the spring game, right?
I did.
And was it boring?
It was kind of boring, to be honest. I mean, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
They played, I think, 5 or 6 different quarterbacks, and nobody really got a whole lot of time when everybody wanted to see the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's touch football for the quarterbacks anyway, so you got a guy like Matthew Sluka at JMU whose main selling point is his escapability in the pocket, and when somebody gets a finger on him, they're blowing the play dead, so letting something exciting happen. So to me, it was a little bit boring. They're good running backs, didn't get really any carries. There were some interesting things. Some freshmen played pretty well, but to me, you didn't see much of anything. You didn't really learn a whole lot about the team.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the James Madison game, or was that the ULM game you're talking about, Shane?
I'm guessing it's pretty similar a lot of places. No.
So I was kind of paying attention to the Appalachian State spring game experience under new head coach Dow Logans, not quite sure how to pronounce that. And they seem to be a little bit underwhelmed too by the, I don't know what you would call it, the format of the spring game, where I think I was reading TK from the Papers feed, which he's been on the show before, but he was kind of talking about how the game was being played, how the scoring was being played, that the online roster didn't quite match the numbers that they were showing on the field. And I was thinking about spring games. I remember Coach Anderson at Arkansas State. He would try to make a carnival atmosphere for these games. There'd be bounce houses. There'd be a little contest in between plays. You might have the basketball coach out there catching punts. He tried to make it into something, and I always thought that result was mixed. I was like, I don't know if I wanted to see that. I kind of just wanted to see what Shane was looking for. I want to see some of the quarterbacks out there. I want to see how they throw. I want to see if the offensive line looks big, if the defensive line looks deep. I want to see if the cornerbacks look fast. At Arkansas State under Butch Jones, they now do a thing where it's I think it's the first team offense and the second team defense versus the first team defense and the second team offense. I feel like that format's pretty good. It's straightforward. You see kind of a game going on. You can make your evaluations if you like. Tibbs, how would you like to see a spring game?
If you're not going to show what the product is, and I get it, especially this year with it being the final year of this spring portal and meat market, let's have some fun. Let the offensive linemen return punts. Let the kickers run some routes as a receiver or play some DB. Let's just go all out, kind of skill competition and have fun with it, and still not really be able to tell you much of anything of what your team's going to look like. But at least you could say, "Hey, you see number 73 out there? He can actually catch a punt."
Okay, so you don't mind a little bit of entertaining atmosphere. Shane, would you like to see a little more entertainment at some of these spring games?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it was worked into the JMU game a little bit. I mean, they do some things in between quarters where, like Tibbs was saying, they have the linemen try to catch punts, and each team, if the purple team did better than the white team in that, then they got some points for their thing. So it was worked in there, but really at this point, it's almost just like an excuse to tailgate and hope the weather's good for a spring game.
And I think that's I've been hearing some grousing on message boards, for instance, and on the X, which we call Twitter, but about spring games and how they're not very fun and you don't get to learn much. I think that's how you have to approach a spring game, guys, as an opportunity to tailgate, as an opportunity to congregate. Maybe on a nice day, if the stadium serves beer, to have a beer. Get some sunshine, get some vitamin A. There's some football down on the field. It may not be the best football, but there's some. It kind of reminds you that, okay, we've got a few more months before football comes back, but this can tide me over. I think the attitude is wrong with a lot of fans who just say, well, I want to see a bunch of football action or whatever. That's not really the point of the spring game. The spring game is more about community and getting together. And maybe, maybe you get lucky and you see the new quarterback out there and wow, he looks pretty good behind center. But for the most part, it's for the fans, I think, just to remember that football season isn't quite around the corner, but it's coming.
Well, tell me this. Do the big baseball schools look at it a little bit differently? I guess none of us really represent a big baseball school, but, if you're Georgia Southern or Southern Miss or Coastal, like, you've got something going on in the spring that draws crowds and something to go do and sit out in the sun. Like, for me, like, I look forward to the spring football game partly because, like, it feels like everything's over to a degree until August, and it's like, okay, well, we got one more day to go. Feel like there's an event.
I feel like this year Southern Miss is all about some spring football, or should I say, Marshall South really has a lot to look forward to. Breaking in a new coach, all the all-star team there from Huntington coming down. So I hear what you're saying, Shane, but I think that this year they're definitely on the bandwagon. I think you could maybe make a little bit of an argument there that Troy is really kind of turning the tide, knowing that their baseball team's pretty damn good right now. Basketball went on the NCAA tournament run. I say run, the one and done, but still made it there. And then football, I think that you want to see if that momentum carries over, because the Troy team of the second half last year is not the same that was at the beginning. And you want to see how much of that is carrying over. So I think that there's some other schools with some excitement, but definitely not all of them end to end.
Yeah, and speaking of Troy, they lose Damian Taylor, their big running back. I think FunBelt number 2, second team all conference. He jumps into the portal. So that's probably something that comes as a big blow to Trojan fans, especially when they think, okay, we got a team that's kind of coming back, and we kind of like how they finished at the end of the year. I mean, what'd you guys think about that defection?
Not surprised by anything this day and age. I mean, if I know that the collective that they have there, Troy, is doing a great job of raising money, making sure they're getting guys exposure and fair wages on the secondary market. But at the same time, if somebody else can give them $1 more, then, I think that they're more than willing to jump ship and go out. I think loyalty is a thing of the past.
Now, do you think that players are staying in college longer instead of like trying to get into the NFL, for instance, because these money opportunities are available?
I don't know. I think we might see that more in basketball and other sports where, the rookie salaries in basketball aren't great. There's guys who just don't fit, who are really good college players who just don't fit the NBA. In college, I think, the guys who are getting the best, the really big bucks when it comes to football are the skill position players who are going to get it in the NFL too. So I don't know if it's happening as much in football as basketball. I could be completely wrong, but that's just my kind of gut feeling on it.
So speaking of the basketball transfer portal, I know we had our guests talk a little bit about it. We are slowly beginning to see some of these guys that have jumped into the portal finding new homes. Not a huge wave so far, but we've had a couple guys like Justin Archer from Georgia, formerly of Georgia State. And then, who's the other guy? I'm going to find it eventually. Justin Archer of Georgia State. Oh, yeah, and Jaden Johnson of ODU. They're both going to LaSalle. Barry Dunning Jr. found a new home in Pittsburgh, which I thought was a little interesting. Micah Smith, of course, going to West Georgia. Marcus Rigsby going to UTA. But another kind of big ticket guy, Jackson Fields from Troy, one of those starters that our guest had talked a little bit about for Troy. He's going off to West Virginia. So there's some movement, that it's not a huge wave yet. Maybe we'll see more of that later on. But we're beginning to find some new homes.
Yeah, I would think here in the next week or two, we're going to see a ton, like a wave of guys committing to a lot of Sunbelt schools and Sunbelt guys committing elsewhere. But, right now the market's just kind of getting set. They're finding out like what people are getting elsewhere, and then schools are trying to match it.
Shane, what is not your professional opinion, but your emotional fan opinion of a guy jumping into the portal and then going back to the team, saying, "Hey, listen, I'm withdrawing my name from the portal. It didn't look like I was going to get those opportunities I thought I might get. Will you welcome me back on?"
I think there's different situations. I mean, like last year, you saw a lot of coaching changes where people enter the portal and then they decide, hey, I've met this guy. I like him. I'm going to stick around. It's a little bit different situation. But then, yeah, I think, when you go out and test the market and decide it's not what you want and kind of come back with your tail between your legs, you kind of got to wonder if there's going to be a little bit of resentment in the locker room, anything like that. It's hard to say. But then there also may be some guys where coaches encourage them to, hey, see if you can get the payday you're looking for. And if not, we're still here. And,
okay.
So I think every situation's a little bit different, but it always has a little bit of a weird vibe to it when they do that, when they pull out of the portal, or, as we've seen some places, guys go somewhere for a year or two and then come back.
Yeah.
Even after that.
We have seen that. From the fan perspective, I noticed that when the portal first became a thing, right, and somebody would leave, it was like, fine, I don't want that guy on my team anyway. He's not full Red Wolf or whatever. I don't want him around. He's a cancer. Good riddance. Hope I never see that guy again. And it's kind of transformed into, well, yeah, if the guy comes back, I'm going to welcome him in open arms. We need that guy. So I feel like amongst fans on that situation, there has been sort of an evolution from indignant rage to, okay, I get the situation. If you come back, you will be welcome back, at least from the fans' perspective.
Or even, there's still some high school kids that get recruited. It doesn't seem like it. We don't ever talk about it anymore. But,
does that really happen?
and in the portal too, but there's guys who don't choose your school. Maybe they got your school in their top 3 or 4 and they put the graphic out and then they pick up the other hat when they do their announcement and everything. And people get mad. And I tell fans, be careful what you say, because this person may be in the portal in a year and you're going to be recruiting him again. And so.
That's true. You want to remember the fans that were like, they just seemed to really want to have me. And they were pretty chill about it when I didn't select them. So I guess as fans, we've got to be smarter about it. Tibbs, is there anybody at ULM that jumped into the portal that you would welcome back and with open arms?
Jalen Bolden, without a doubt.
Oh, okay. The basketball guy. Yeah. He was good. He'd be good to have back. Shane, is there anybody from JMU that you think the fans would want back?
Let's see. I think, just pure talent wise and what he would do for the team on the football side, probably Eric O'Neill, just to have that edge pass rusher.
Yeah.
When it comes to basketball for JMU for this year, AJ Smith, I think, is maybe the one guy who was a little bit surprising and, could have contributed and would have a role if he decided to come back. And I think people would probably welcome him back.
Yeah. The 2 guys that left for South Florida, Joseph Pinion and Isaiah Nelson would probably be 2 guys that Arkansas State fans would just,
not bad picks.
Yeah, would probably like, please come back. Let bygones be bygones. I think we would do that.
So, speaking of bygones be bygones,
Oh, okay.
the Warhawks picked up 2 games over Louisiana Lafayette this past weekend. And once again, the name game has flared up. It's all over the X, Jeremy.
Okay, the X, sure.
It is not just for athletic branding. Regardless what you say, regardless what you claim, they want to be the flagship of the boot.
Oh, okay. All right, go on.
And them losing to poor little old Northeast Louisiana, now ULM, is just unacceptable. And every coach should be fired, whether they were part of that sport or not.
No, come on.
The university is considered closing its doors.
What?
And add on to that they were swept in a 2-game series against the other arch enemy there of Louisiana Tech, and you have just the absolute devastation meltdown by all these fans who want to be somewhat media, claim to be the super fans and the voice of the fans. If that's the case, you're pretty damn unrealistic and way out in right field, literally and figuratively.
I assume that you're talking about Cajuns baseball. Is that where we're talking about, Tibbs?
Maybe.
And Cajuns baseball having a hard time this year. Is that we can agree with that, right?
That's a fair statement.
And
Great spring for the Cajuns all the way around for what they count on being their good sports.
No, there's always a reset. The softball team, not the powerhouse that it used to be. The baseball
Arkansas State beat them.
What, the softball team or the baseball team?
Yes.
I don't think we played them in baseball. But I will brag about my Red Wolves a little bit for baseball, that they're stuck in the middle of the pack, which is great. Picked to finish last this season. Doing okay. Just won a season or a series with South Alabama, another one of those teams that traditionally are pretty good at baseball. This year struggling, but still, that's pretty nice. I noticed right there at the bottom, though, the Warhawks and the Dukes. What the hell?
Bat and ball teams aren't doing so hot in Harrisonburg.
Oh, man. That's too bad. Now you know what it's like to be, Red Wolves baseball. The mojo has switched. So
before we jump into plugs, promos, and parting shots, you talked about how the other half live, and now you know what it's like. Did you see the great video where Ohio State visited the White House today, and J.D. Vance dropped the title trophy?
Well, it wasn't just that, too. It's like somebody forgot to put the nut on that puts the top part of the trophy with the base.
No, it's detachable. That's just the way it sits down in the base.
Oh. So it was just J.D. Vance not understanding how the trophy worked.
Yeah, but looking like a complete buffoon that he dropped the national title trophy.
Yeah, I thought it was a trophy malfunction. And I was going to say, you know what, that's not all on J.D. Vance. Although, personally, I don't care if J.D. Vance looks like a fool or not. Knowing that that's how the trophy works. And he still couldn't get it right. That's pretty wacky. Even the still photos are actually better than the video itself. I don't know if you've seen some of the still photos, but it looks really good. I really enjoyed that.
Wasn't it the Independence Bowl where they broke the trophy at the presentation? They dropped it or something?
It wasn't the Independence Bowl. It was like one of those glass trophies, right?
Yeah. Although I can say this story, the 2017 Commissioner's Trophy for MLB may or may not have had about 7 or 8 flags bent from a trophy mishap.
And so, those trophies, are there more than one? I mean, can you go and get a replacement?
Yes. So there was one that was kind of the one on display that was very shiny. It was not all of the precious metals. There was one at the owner's house, which I guess when you're an owner and you're a billionaire, you get that. There was one in his office.
Yeah.
And then there was one that was kind of out that was like the team one that was there.
The cheapest of all of them. The
Probably.
team one, I bet. Yeah. Okay. Does it bother you? Like, I know that we've got plugs promos and we're going off on a tangent here. But does it bother you when the owner of the team, whether it's NBA or baseball or football or whatever, gets on stage and they're the ones that get the trophy? Like they get to hold it first and then make a speech? Does that bother you at all, Tibbs?
It's no different than when your kids were born, Jeremy. Was it really fair that you were the first one that got to hold them? Or was it that, your wife, exhausted and tired from having won that victorious battle in the championship, that she should have gotten to be the first one?
So you're equating owning a sports franchise with giving birth. That's
Yes.
your equivalent. Okay. All right. I'm going to let you handle that.
Shane, what do you have for plugs, promos, and parting shots with your Blue Wolf hat?
I've got nothing, basically. I've been thinking.
Oh, Lord, here comes the DNR. Oh, jeez.
It's okay. If he has to do DNR, he does DNR. It's all right.
Yep. DNRonline.com/sports. Read about Sunbelt and JMU sports there. And I'll try to think of something good for next time. But I really struggled to come up with anything this time.
Couldn't find anything to be outraged about or charmed with. Couldn't do that.
We'll see.
All right. Well, I'm kind of in the same boat with Metland Tibbs. I'm having some trouble too. I will say do you guys like the comic book characters?
Depends on what they are.
Okay. How about you, Shane? You like the comic book characters?
Some of them.
Okay. All right. So Disney Channel currently running a show, Daredevil. I watched Daredevil when it was on Netflix. It was the same sort of cast of characters. Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Vincent, I can't pronounce his last name ever, as Kingpin. Does a perfect job. Everybody is perfectly cast, in my opinion, for Daredevil. I will say this: I am tired of this plot line for Daredevil because they've explored it now twice in Netflix and now in the Disney version. And it's this idea that you should feel very guilty about being Daredevil. That, the violence and the lifestyle and the darkness, it prevents Daredevil from becoming Daredevil. So for episode after episode, we're waiting for Daredevil to stop feeling guilty about Daredevil and just go out and be Daredevil. Why do I have to every year have to wait for Matt Murdock to shake off all his guilty feelings and finally embrace who he is, which is something only he could do, which is be the Daredevil? Why is it every season I gotta go through this process with Matt Murdock? I just want him to fight some bad guys. Can we get to that, please? I don't need to see another scene where he's in a confessional. I don't need to see another scene where he's bloody knuckles and he's washing them in a sink and he's wondering where his life is going. I don't need any more of that. Let's get back to the fighting, please. And that's my parting shot, Tibbs. If you can add anything to that, I challenge it. I welcome it.
There was recently the longest filibuster ever.
Yeah.
Where it was pushing 26 hours. I feel like I just sat through the highlights of that, Jeremy.
Was my rant as long as Cory Booker's 25-hour filibuster? Come on.
Basically. For my plug, one of the best shows that's on It's on Netflix. Dark
Okay.
Mirror, Black Mirror, is back.
Yeah, it's back, like the 7th season.
And why is it the first episode of every season has the most messed up, twisted plots that you could ever imagine?
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's all I can tell you about it. If not, I ruin it. Get it on Netflix. Black Mirror, season 7. It's good stuff.
I kind of feel like this episode of tonight's podcast was a Black Mirror.